Coming up on today's episode, in the spirit of the new upcoming Blum House horror movie, Imaginary, I decided to go back to 2019 and check out another abandoned plush doll, Benny Loves You. Stay tuned. Welcome to Scary World, where we walk you through the latest and greatest in the world of horror. I am your host, Arturo Padilla.
Hi.
Before we get into it, remember folks, this is a spoiler-free show.
Okay, I'm not gonna spoil the surprise.
Now that we got that out of the way,
We got some rules around here.
there are 5 categories: production, story, ensemble, horror, and legacy. Each category can earn up to 2 points.
Showtime.
Per IMDb, the synopsis goes, Jack, a man desperate to improve his life,
I have made an improvement.
throws away his beloved childhood plush, Benny.
Somebody throw me in the trash.
It's a move that has disastrous consequences
Actions have consequences.
when Benny springs to life with deadly intentions.
I shot him 6 times.
Production.
Camera shy.
This movie was directed by Carl Holt. It's shot well and it's pieced together well overall as a package. There are certain things in this movie that could have improved production-wise for sure. There are certain scenes where the lighting is really off, specifically some night scenes where our protagonist Jack is actually going to bed, but the lighting is so off that it looks like a daytime scene. So that kind of really throws you off a little bit in terms of what's going on inside the movie. On a positive note, there is some really cool production choices made here when it comes to the antagonist and the little monsters we face here in this movie, which is Benny the plush and some other toys that happen to come to life in this movie.
He can't be bargained with. He doesn't feel pity or remorse. He absolutely will not stop until you are dead.
They look really cool. They walk in a way where you obviously see there's a little space underneath their feet. So it's somebody actually moving the toy, probably wearing a green screen suit or something like that. It is fun, and it is a horror comedy. Just put that out there. It is a horror comedy, and that does fit within the framework of this movie. It looks very fun. It's actually kind of cute and adorable sometimes, except when he's trying to kill you. That being said, that's the highlight of this movie. There isn't much else to kind of praise when it comes to this movie. There was a core concept here, and they went hard on that core concept without thinking much of the surrounding aspects of the rest of the movie. And for production, this movie gets a 1. Story.
Second act needs work.
This script was written by Carl Holt. It was based off his 2006 short movie, Eddie Loves You, based off the same exact concept. The script has many issues, unfortunately. 1, the pacing is not good. It's slow and it takes forever to get anywhere in this movie. It takes a long time to get through all the acts. Fortunately, Act 3 is a little bit more livelier than the first 2 acts and makes up for the very stale movie that you get prior to that. It livens it up with a little bit more fun, a little bit more comedy, and kind of makes it a success at the end. Makes it a little bit, in terms of success, I mean, it makes it watchable at the end. In comparison to what you had to travel through, Acts 1 and Act 2 are very slow. They drag. It's not a slow burn of a movie by any means, but in those 90 minutes, it feels like you're watching maybe a 2.5-hour movie. Second is dialogue. The dialogue in this thing is clunky, it's oversimplified, it's not good, to say the least. They could have done a better job having one-on-one conversations and having the dialogue be a little bit more complex for these characters. The dialogue really makes the characters too simple. Their way of thinking, their way of just being too simple. And we'll get to that in the next section. But third, there are plot holes here. There are several plot holes, but by the end of the movie, you're kind of so over it that you kind of don't care what the answer is to those plot holes. How is that accomplished? How is this accomplished? How is this thing even working? At the end of the movie, you're like, okay, I'm just glad I made it out of it alive. Let's move on here. and let's continue to the next movie, because this story was not good. And for that, it gets a 0. Ensemble.
He's sorry. Oh, he's sorry. Sorry.
The cast does a decent job, I guess you can call it that. There are no standout performances here, and honestly, as mentioned in the previous section, the characters are just way too simple for my tastes. And honestly, that doesn't give the actors a lot to chew on. It doesn't give them a lot to do. The development that the characters get is very little to none. Only person that gets any kind of development is the protagonist, is Jack, who is played by, once again, drum roll please, folks, Carl Holt. I understand wanting to be the director because you have a vision and you want to accomplish that, but there is a way to do that without putting yourself in it in a way that will compromise your vision, if that makes any sense. He is front and center here, and he is not good. I understand his character. His character is a person in his mid-30s who lives at home, and his parents just passed away. He doesn't seem to be much of a doer. So his character is just really poorly handled, and I think you could have had the same character, but with a different actor behind it, I believe you would have gotten a more successful representation of what Carl Holt, as the a filmmaker and the writer, actually wanted here. Unfortunately, putting himself front and center as the protagonist there is a huge detriment. The supporting cast around him does their best to portray whatever these shell of characters actually, are. So you can't really fault them too much, but they don't do any justice to those shells of characters either. It doesn't seem like they're really feeling it much. And some of the dynamics don't make sense. Some of the line delivery makes no sense. It's just not good overall in terms of ensemble. And for that, this movie gets a big 0. Horror.
Is it scary?
This movie has a lot of blood, a lot of guts, a lot of body parts, and it's all fun, honestly. This was the best part of the movie. The horror and the action and the slasher action and the blood and the gore and the body parts. I'm glad this was this heightened in this movie, because if it wasn't, it would have been a total snooze fest.
Play with Penny.
There is a bunch of practical and there is a bunch of computer generated stuff in here, and it's all blended pretty seamlessly and pretty well. You can tell there's CG used, but it doesn't take away from the actual kills or the scene itself, which is a plus. You actually welcome this kind of CG blood splatter and CG gore, because it livens up the scenes. It makes you get back into this movie and get back into the spirit of what's going on with this story. The character Benny is super effective. It's a super cute design, adorable looking teddy plush doll thing. It looks like an Elmo mixed with a bunny rabbit, but it's adorable and it's super effective. As mentioned before, there is a certain way they film the toy action that is very fun, and this is no different. When you see little ears flop around and the little legs flop around with this knife going on, you're into it. It's kind of old school Child's Play stuff. That's the best part of this movie, honestly. That's why it's such a shame that everything around the horror of this movie is not good, man. I wish they would have definitely done some other things with the surrounding stuff that would have made this at least a little bit more of a watchable movie, because the Benny aspect of it is fun. It is a fun character. I really enjoyed watching the toy do its thing. I enjoyed watching the other toys do their thing. There are a couple of robot designs of robot toys here that look a little too too cheapy graphics, if that makes any sense, but it's cool to watch because it's better than watching the humans do their thing. And for horror and for the awesome Benny plush, this movie gets a 2. Legacy.
Right, now make up your mind.
There were some poor decisions made in several stages of the filmmaking process here in this movie. With that said, there was something here of value. I did like the way they shot the toy action, and the fun of the toys killing and the way everything looked, it just kind of worked. As I mentioned before, it's just very unfortunate that everything around the horror and the Benny character just plain out sucked, to put it very simply. It wasn't good. It's a big shame because the kills were fun. There were a lot of kills, a lot of surprising kills, to say that. There's kids here, there's pets here, there's adults here. All of them are victims to Benny. Benny don't care. And it's all very fun. It actually accomplishes the comedy aspect pretty decently when it comes to the violence and the brutality. It's fun to look at. It's very exaggerated, but it makes the point, you know, of this doll just loving their owner so much that they'll kill for their owner. And that's very effective when it is done on screen. It needed a lot more of that and a lot less of the humans. And for legacy, Benny Loves You gets a 1. To tally it up, Benny Loves You received a 1 for production, 0 for story, 0 for ensemble, 2 for horror, and a 1 for legacy, bringing its total to 4. 4 out of 10 looks pretty bad, folks, but there is a positive here. There is some fun to be had as you watch this movie. As mentioned in the sections before, it is slow. It is a bit of a slog, especially through acts 1 and 2, but there are moments sprinkled in of pretty awesome comedic horror fun with some very unexpected kills, some very surprising execution of those kills, and those moments actually leading up to some fun and some watchability. This is based off a short, so I've said it before in the past, and I know I've said it on our official podcast, The Morgue, which you can catch every Tuesday, dropping here on the YouTube channel and anywhere you get your podcasts. We have said that short movies and short projects in the past sometimes, for the most part, do not add up to a good feature film. A great example, this year alone, in January, we got Night Swim, and that was based off a short, which was actually pretty darn good. But then you expand that into an actual movie, and it's a disaster. This is what happened here. They had a very good idea of this plushie and this awesome toy action, but then you needed to build a story around that if you wanted to make it a feature. Once you do that, you have to actually world build, and that's where things start falling apart if you don't know where you're gonna go with the idea. This movie is available on Amazon Prime if you want to go catch it. I, again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, saw this movie because Imaginary is coming out this weekend, and it is about a teddy bear who gets forgotten in a basement. Obviously, there's parallels to both movies here. So go catch Benny Loves You on Amazon Prime if you dare. I wouldn't recommend it. I would hope Imaginary is a little bit more watchable than this one, but I'm crossing my fingers because these days, folks, who knows?
Can you tell me what time it is?
And that's a wrap. Thank you for watching Scary World. Don't forget to drop a comment down below and also hit the thumbs up on the video. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, most importantly. Tell all your friends, your buddies, and tell all your family to come to our YouTube page to like, subscribe, and share. You can also catch our official CorpseFeed podcast dropping on Tuesdays here on the YouTube page, as well as anywhere you get your podcast streams. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, anywhere you get your streams, we are there. Don't forget to check out the social feeds. We are everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, X, Threads, TikTok, Twitch. We are there. Did I forget any of them? If I did, we are still there. We will see you on Friday for another episode. And remember, it's a scary world out there, but we are here to walk you through it.
I just wanted to say goodbye.